Trent is on a beach with a decently sized fishing village. In the background, out of focus, a tower lies in the far distance. Two other men are standing closer to the town as the villagers go about their day. They look out of place. One is wearing magistrate robes, woven with a thickly structured purple cotton and lined with gold silk trim. The cape of his robe has a night sky that seems to change depending on the direction that he looks. He has a deep royal purple eyes, standing 5'10", a pale complexion, and light brown hair that flows upward, somewhat unnaturally. The other man wears a navy linen suit jacket, matching pants, a linen button-down, and light brown bluchers. He stands at about an inch or two taller than the other man, dark blue eyes, and a similar skin complexion, but with salt and pepper slicked back hair. The purple-eyed mage turns around and stares at the tower and sees a small twinkle. He squints and turns to his compatriots. Adamar, did you veil the area? No, Trent. I was waiting for the priest woman. Does it matter? Can she be outside of the area of effect on cast, or does she have to be inside it? She has to be inside. Sure, whatever. An armored man approaches them. He towers over them with gray-blue eyes, long hair, and a 5 o'clock shadow. He's rather wide, so one would imagine he's quite muscular under the armor, which is adorned with a gold belt and gray drape hanging from it. Hovering above him, about 50 feet off of the ground, is a massive hammer. It's hard for the men to discern how big it is, but it appears almost as big as the knight itself, seemingly following him around, with the image of a sun forged into the face in gold trim. Afternoon, gentlemen, the knight utters formally, looking toward the sea line. Hey, says Trent, flatly. When shall we be expecting her eminence? Adamar shoots out, giving the knight a sly look. She's just saying hello to the townspeople. If someone needs healing, she'll probably take care of them. Shouldn't be that much longer, Trent replies quickly, grimacing. A woman wearing matching robes to complement the knight's attire approaches them. Men gawk at her extremely curly brown hair and large chest that drapes her robe over her torso. She's tall for a woman with subtle blush-colored eyes. She's holding a simple, baby blue-colored staff with a white glowing orb at the top. She raises her other hand and waves in a greeting. All three men turn to look at her. Trent waits till she's in earshot and turns toward the knight. That's Venus, Marcon points out. Mark, could you do me a favor? Trent asks, ignoring the introduction. No, replies Mark, continually getting annoyed with each reply. What? Why not? All I want you to do is go recon that tower that's over there. I don't take orders from you. Hey, now. I remember the lady telling you to help me out if I needed it. You listen to everything she says, don't you? Mark, it's fine. There might be something interesting in that tower, and you can bring it back, blurts out Venus. Just be quick. Mark looks at odds with himself, conflicted as to what to do. While this happens, Adamar grabs a rock off of the ground and walks toward the beach. After he's a good distance away, he makes sure that he's facing away from the group, puts his hands together, and pulls them apart. A fuchsia thread emerges and unfurls into an opaque-looking cloth. He looks to the group and attempts to feint throwing the cloth into the air as he tosses the rock into the water. The splash of the rock breaks Mark's concentration and he looks to Adamar, but doesn't notice anything. Adamar looks up and for a brief moment sees a faint fuchsia-colored bubble affirm its existence over the town there. As it fades, he walks toward the group. Mark looks over to Venus, who reassures him by softly rubbing his cheek. He shakes his head, rolls his eyes, and exhales. Fine, he states. As he begins walking toward the tower, he turns to give Trent a nasty glare before jogging away, seemingly getting faster and faster until he's no longer in sight. Trent steps toward Venus. I would like to relieve you of any sick or elderly you may have. I've already visited some of the other human settlements, taking the burden from them. I can set up a portal in the capital and you can have them just walk through it. And they'll be taken care of, exclaims Trent. That sounds great, but why would you only want the sick and elderly? That doesn't make much sense. Don't worry about me. Where I'm from, we have the resources to take care of it. Well, okay, if you say so. I'll show you where you can construct it. Awesome, Trent says with a smile. He goes to clap before they come together, the borders of his fingers seem to trail with the night sky. And as his palms meet, a cluster of stars burst forth. Venus's eyes become black, riddled with stars and nebula. After a beat, the darkness coalesces and retreats into her pupils, becoming indistinguishable from her regular eyes. She blinks a few times. "Okay, let's go," Venus sings along as she skips forward. Aultemus looks off to the side of the balcony and sees a shining knight in the distance with a giant hammer floating above them, following them. "Hey!" the knight yells. Aultemus turns to the group. "Hey guys, there's someone here." Fuson and Rilo both say, "Who?" in unison. Aultemus pauses, looking at both of them as he cracks a smile. "Some guy in armor with a floating hammer?" "Marcon," whispers Rilo. Fuson darts his attention to Rilo, somewhat nervous. "Why don't you go say hi?" states Fuson, his confidence back. "Hold on, I don't like this. I don't know who that is." "And you two are acting weird," exclaims Siora. But right after she finishes, Aultemus leaps over the guard railing and Siora lets out a small yelp. "Holy shit," Fuson giggles. Siora runs out of the room after him and into the stairwell. Aultemus falls for about a second and then zaps the rest of the fall, rematerializing right before he lands on the ground. Aultemus' landing is firm, as though he fell from a couple of steps rather than 100 feet. He adjusts his posture and casually approaches the knight. Mark stops and looks at him, as to think to himself, what the fuck is he supposed to be? Did Trent lead me into a trap, or is this a joke? Aultemus watches the hammer, catching it as it shifts from hovering parallel to the ground to aiming straight at him. He stops walking forward. "Hello," Aultemus shouts, trying to sound as neutral as possible. Mark's eyes widen for a second. "Are you wearing a costume? Why did Trent send me here?" Mark remarks assertively. Aultemus reacts puzzled. He twitches his head to the side and his eyes narrow. "What? I think you're a bit confused. I was going to ask you why you're here." "Sorry, but you look too strange and I was sent here by someone to investigate. At first I thought it was a joke, but now I'm looking at something worth investigating." He eyes Aultemus up and down. "Well, I'm real. I just got here, so you can understand why I'm also intrigued. Doesn't sound like the person who sent you here is very nice, though." "He isn't. Also, I don't really care to stay very long. How about we throw some punches and call it a day? It'll look like I did something, and I'll let you off the hook." "Why would you let me off so easily?" "Well, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. Also, I've never seen the elf before, so I'll take my chances. If I saw someone I knew, then maybe that astromancer wasn't talking out of his ass." Siora jogs up to Aultemus from behind and slows down as she gets to him, eyeing Mark. "Do you know him?" whispers Aultemus. "No, but I don't keep up with human stuff. I think the other two do, though," Siora mutters. "You said something about fighting?" "Sure, I can do that," Aultemus yells. Marcon smirks. "Let's give it a shot. You go first." "All right," Aultemus yells. Siora jabs Aultemus in the shoulder with displeasure, grunts, and backs up. Aultemus enters a fighting stance as golden lightning sparks from his body. Mark stands up straight and also enters a fighting stance, putting his arms in front of him, but leaving his palms open. It's like under his scales, so he is real, Marcon thinks to himself. Aultemus' entire body begins to shimmer as the yellow glow moves under the layer of his scales, breaking through the cracks in between them. I'll give him a free hit, Marcon thinks, as he bends his knees and braces himself. Aultemus zaps forward, materializing low to the ground right in front of Mark. A small burst erupts from the front of his feet, and a jet of fire propels him into the back of Mark's knees. While Mark hits the ground, Aultemus lands and quickly gets up, literal lightning aiding in his reflexes and speed. As he moves, Mark can hear the electricity arcing from Aultemus' body. By the time Mark makes contact with the ground, Aultemus is standing over him with his arms together over his head. Rocks begin magnetizing to both of his hands as he brings it down and impacts the chest plate in Mark's armor, emitting a deafening bang and stirring up dust and dirt. Aultemus zaps backwards, but as he rematerializes, his right leg is swept from underneath as Mark is already sliding forward from the dust. "You got me before I even zapped backward," Aultemus remarks. "Is that what that spell is called?" Mark asks. "Lightning Aphanites here don't have that." "Thanks," Aultemus replies as he holds a spark of lightning in his right hand. He waits for Mark to get a little closer. There's a tense moment as they wait for each other to make the next move. Suddenly Mark dashes forward, going for a stomach jab with his right fist. Aultemus zaps around Mark right before the blow lands. Aultemus throws a small bolt of lightning that travels around Mark, who turns around quickly, his right jab gaining momentum. Aultemus lets his balance go in an effort to dodge it, putting his left hand in front of him. The bolt behind Mark and the spark in Aultemus's right hand connect through Mark, forming a giant lightning coil. The lightning causes Mark to lose his focus, so he swings without aiming, missing Aultemus. Aultemus picks up his feet, surrounds them with rock, and kicks Mark in the abdomen, sending him back. Mark gathers himself and tries to get his balance. As Aultemus kicks back up from the ground, Mark starts to fall backwards. As Aultemus relaxes, wondering what's going on, Mark's entire body rushes forward mid-fall, slightly digging into the ground. Mark's right arm, outstretched, grabs a rock dug out from his momentum. Aultemus manages to zap up for a second, materializing above Mark, but Mark preemptively had thrown the rock, impacting Aultemus's face and knocking him backwards. Aultemus slams into the ground, quickly snaps back up, lightning is surging from him, yet as he looks up, there's Mark, hand outstretched, ready to help him up. The lightning subsides, and his midnight blue scales lose their golden glow. He exhales and reluctantly grabs Mark's hand. "Thanks," Aultemus remarks. "You're done?" "Yeah, it was fun," Mark replies. "I gotta go. I don't want to raise too much suspicion. Good luck." Mark looks over to Ciora, raises his hand to her, and starts jogging away, progressively getting faster. "He's really strong. Do you know who he is?" Aultemus asks. "No. Why'd he suddenly leave?" "No idea. I guess he just wanted to go. Maybe the other two know who he is?" Aultemus and Ciora look up and see Fuson and Rilo looking over the edge of the balcony. Fuson flies down and begins his descent. Rilo follows suit, but instead floats down in a sitting position. Mark is walking down a Gothic castle hall, holding a bundle of flowers that resemble gladiolas. He glances at the bouquet and smiles occasionally. Orbs of light emanate from the ceiling, illuminating the stone walls. The sides draped in gold tapestries, the floor awash with gold and blue carpeting, and his hammer gracefully floating behind him. He stops and listens. He hears some indecipherable speaking. He puts a hand to his chest, and a faint sky-blue glow surrounds his silhouette for a brief moment, and he begins to float, levitating forward, completely silent. The noise seems to begin to form into the sound of two people. He can make out Venus. As he follows the sound, he still can't seem to make out who the other voice is. Mark gets to the room and stops in the hall, out of sight, and listens to the conversation. He hears them laughing and lands as he approaches next to the door. Taking a step forward, he almost bumps directly into Venus. Mark notices Adamar's left hand on her right shoulder, and is taken aback, his eyes twitching in disdain as he tries to cover it up quickly. "Hello, Mark. We didn't even hear you coming down the hall," exclaims Adamar. "Must have been fun in there," spits out Mark. "Venus was just telling me about this area. I research arcane magic, and she thought your fortress by the Nexus might be of some interest to my work." "Fascinating," Mark replies in a flat, monotone voice. "Anyway, I'll be going. I have to discuss some things with Trent before he leaves." "Trent's leaving?" Venus asks, disappointed. Mark looks at her, appalled at her inflection. "Yes, but I'll be staying for a bit. I want to go check out on the Nexus before leaving the city." "Aw, I enjoyed your company. Do come again soon," Venus remarks. Mark tries to hold back his discomfort. "Take care," Adamar replies to the two of them, giving a sincere smile as he walks away. Mark walks into the room Venus and Adamar were previously in. It's warmly lit and at the end of the hall. He looks
closely around, but doesn't notice anything out of the ordinary, other than the chairs at the table in the room not being pushed in. There's a regal wooden bed with a silver lining and a red veil over it, a full-body mirror, a closed window, and leaning against the wall next to it, Venus's staff. Venus walks in behind him, smiling, as Mark's hammer floats casually behind her. Mark turns around and extends her the flowers. "I got these for you while I was in town," he says. Venus smiles and takes the bouquet, smells the flowers, and rocks back and forth. "Thank you, they're lovely," she whispers sincerely. She turns to the table and puts them in a vase at the center of the table that was already containing white roses. After putting the flowers in, she puts her palms out, facing the vase. A white glow emanates from her hand, and the flowers seem to stand up straighter, seemingly more lively in general. They appear in perfect condition. Although they were by no means damaged previously, any imperfections from the new flowers have been erased away. Trent closes the door as he places the hammer in front of it, blocking it from the opening. As he begins to take his armor off, he calmly says, "How was your day?" "It was good. Adamar visited. He wanted to know some things about the world. I walked around town, spread the word about what Trent was doing, and let people know where the portal is and stuff," Venus explains. "Are you not suspicious of him at all? It's kind of weird and too good to be true. I feel like you're being a bit too trusting." "Well," she drawls, "I don't know. I think it'll be fine. He's from another world, and they seem like they have everything figured out." Mark cocks his head a little, but lets it go and veers his gaze over to the window, trying to digest what she said. "Well, all right. I disagree, but if I find anything, I'm going to protect you and the people of this city." I know, but I think he's being honest. Plus, you told me that Paishan and Sheridas were planning an invasion, and I thought this was just a win that landed in our laps." "I guess," Mark exclaims after a beat. "I'll join you tomorrow. I want to spend some more time together." There's a brief moment of silence as Venus gracefully dances into the closet on the far side of the room. As the two climb into bed, Mark looks into her eyes and notices faint stars in her pupils. Venus lays on her back, raises her hand up, displays her fingers, and all of the light in the lanterns illuminating the room fly into her hand and flicker out. "Good night," she whispers. "Good night." Aultemus and his new companions walk into an ocean of golden grass. Fuson is nowhere to be seen. In the distance is a vast and never-ending mountain range across the entire northern and eastern horizon, with a large, glistening diamond, comparable in size, breaking up the horizon and commanding the field before the mountains. Aultemus and Ciora stood together in the front, Rilo a few feet behind them, who gently floats in a sitting position. "Where are we going?" asked Aultemus, breaking the silence. "To that big crystal. It's a city, and the capital of the Valkyries." Ciora replies plainly. Aultemus looks around amazed, and then suddenly notices someone missing. "Where's Fuson?" he asks. "I'm right here," a voice responds from the grass, as a ring of wind cuts into a centralized point, creating a small crop circle. Fuson is at the center, and emerges as the others look down into it. Fuson takes a seat near the wall of the crop circle, farthest from everyone else. Aultemus and Ciora walk in and sit down. Rilo floats over and comes to an abrupt halt, slowing slowly down onto the ground. "Why are we going to the Crystal City?" Aultemus asks in a relaxed voice. "I, know the Queen, so I figured we could get some information from her and about the Astromancer or your brother." Fuson tries to get out. Aultemus gives him a look and notches one of his eyebrows. "Fuson's a celebrity," Rilo remarks, his arms close to his chest. "The first thing you've said in a day, and is that?" Fuson replies, somewhat loud and as though he wasn't paying attention to his volume. Ciora tries to enjoy the situation, but looks visibly upset, as though she's trying to keep something in. She gets up abruptly and says, "I'll be right back. Sorry," as she disappears into the grass. The other three stop for a second, but continue their conversation. "Okay," yells Fuson, puzzled, in an uncharacteristically flimsy tone. "You're a celebrity?" asks Aultemus, looking at Fuson, who is still watching the grass. As he looks back at Aultemus, his eyes are a white color, but as soon as he blinks, they go back to teal, I was really hoping someone wouldn't know who I was. So why are you famous? I mean, nothing really. I would compete in racing and fighting. I grew up with being friends with the queen, so I mean, people knew who I was and I was able to do things like that. So why didn't you want us to know? Aultemus replies. It doesn't really matter, Yusan remarks. I mean, it kinda does, Aultemus barks back. Yusan smiles earnestly. I just wanted to try and interact with somebody normally, if that makes any sense. And you, Aultemus? What do you do? Rilo asks flatly. Nothing really. I studied magic, tried to get good at it. I just didn't really found anything that was really meaningful to me yet. Aultemus trails off. Rilo looks at him, his eyes wide open, listening intently, but suddenly snaps back to reality from the sound of Fusan's voice. Well, what about you, monkey boy? You're pretty quiet. What's your deal? And the tattoos? I feel like I've seen those before, Fusan remarks snarkily. Rilo trails off, his eyes darting around and his legs shaking as he struggles nervously and tries to find something to say. Siora emerges back from the grass. So who was that knight all fought at the tower? You guys seem pretty scared of him, she says. Rilo exhales as everyone turns to look at her. That was Marcon. He's a kinetic, like Rilo over there. He's supposed to be the captain of the guard in Creedom. He protects the head priest, Venus, who's like super religious or something. He might be a general too, but he spends more time with Venus than the military, or at least that's what people say. And what is Venus? Aultemus asks. She's a light Aphanite, although I don't know if she can fight. No one has ever seen her fight, Fusan replies, looking around as he pieces together his thoughts. What I want to know is why he was alone, and pretty far from Creedom. Creedom is a human city? Aultemus asks again. Yeah, almost exclusively. They've been at war with Hocht, which is another human city, for a pretty long time. Fusan pauses and turns to Rilo, pointing a feather at him. Why do you know Marcon? Rilo fidgets his hand and stutters around. The monastery where kinetic Aphanites go. In Dynan? Rilo begins. Dynan? That's far, Siora whispers, even though it was loud enough for everyone to hear. He left earlier than I did. He's pretty competitive and I never really reciprocated his rivalry, so he got really angry with me a lot. The sun begins to set, and the group notices the golden field turns into a fluorescent orange, and the group decides to settle in this depression in the grass for the night. The next day, in Creedom, is an otherwise normal day. The people are going about their jobs, errands, as usual. Adamar walks through the crowd and enters one of the stone buildings. Trent is at a bar, entertaining a couple of women, incredibly animated with his gestures as he tells them his tales and adventures. The girls utterly engaged. Adamar walks up to the bar and sits on the stool to the left of Trent, not looking at any of them. Oh hey, this is my friend, by the way. Adamar. He likes to dress funny. He calls it sophisticated, but Trent boasts. The girl giggles in response. I kind of like this outfit. It's, sleek and unique, one of the girls says in response. Trent's face scrunches up, and he tries to pass it off as a joke. Well, we gotta go. If you want to meet up later, we work at one of the alchemy shops across town. You're welcome anytime. The other girl responds as they get up to leave. I'll be sure to try to make some time for it, Trent replies as he waves them off. Once they get out of earshot, Adamar hisses over at Trent. Do you really intend to do anything with them? Trent looks to him and lets out a sigh as he turns around. No. They're too boring. Oh, I love food. I can't stand that shit. You can create water and sculpt rock out of thin air, but that's what you can make yourself stand out? Ugh, magic is wasted on these people. Trent sighs. This is why we should just get rid of magic. I mean, these people's lives would be no different. And you're going to stay on this shitty planet? Adamar glares at Trent. Yes, just to study the Nexus. See what they have written on it. Maybe it contains some energy. Sure, whatever. I'm going to go talk to the happy couple, Trent says as he gets out from the bar. He fires out, quick and to the point, his demeanor suddenly changing. I want you to destabilize the Nexus before you leave, Trent orders. Do you mind if I ask why? Adamar replies. Get them used to the idea that they don't need magic. Trent turns around and quickly walks out of the establishment and into the street. As he walks through the crowds, people who would otherwise touch him are slightly shifted out of his path as though flowing away naturally. Turns into an alley, blinks, and the alley shifts. The alley looks similar, but is not the same alley he was in a moment ago. Turns around out of the alley back into the city and is much closer to the castle. The castle is on the northeastern part of the city, alongside the highest part of the walls. It conveniently is placed to provide quick access to the ocean harbor, which is a tiny jaunt to the southeast. Right before the castle itself, after a main gate, is a giant opening where people in armor can be seen congregating. 2 tall, skinny towers overlook this courtyard adjacent to the street. There's a small battalion of guards at the opening, training, sitting down, eating, or polishing up their armor weapons. Some coming out from doors in the walls, curious of Trent. Trent walks past the battalion into the large opening where even more guards are standing idly about. In this closed-off space, more of them are practicing magic with rocks, fire, icicles, lightning. Trent gets halfway through the courtyard before a fist-sized rock flies at him. The rock warps and disappears right before it makes contact with Trent, and then is flung in another direction faster than it was going previously, and into the courtyard. Trent slows down on one step, his eyebrows furrow, and he immediately continues on his quick pace. 2 guards quickly get to him before the stairs leading up to the castle. You going somewhere? One of the guards exclaims. Yes, I am. I have a meeting with Venus. Now step aside, please, Trent exclaims, annoyed that he has to interact with these soldiers. Others begin to slowly approach them and form a loose circle around Trent. We can't just let you in. What? Excuse me, how have you not seen me interact with Venus or the guy with the hammer? I've been in and out of the castle for months. I'm going in, Trent demands as he walks forward. The 2 guards step forward and block him, but Trent phases through them. Hey! The soldier yells as a flame engulfs his right hand. He swings at Trent, throwing the flame toward him. It dissipates quickly and the soldiers begin to rush forward. Trent lets out a frustrated sigh and conjures a small black orb in his right hand. Waiting for the last second for the soldiers to get near, he closes his hand on the orb, unleashing a deafening snap as the shockwave explodes in front of him, sending the soldiers soaring backward into the courtyard. A single soldier tries to regain their senses and looks toward the stairs, but Trent is already gone. Trent, now in the castle, is walking down another set of stairs within the castle. The hallway is well lit, the decorum is soft and inviting, but at the end of the hall is an immense door that reaches the entire width of the room. The door itself is cracked open a bit. Trent steps past it and finds a portal at the end of the room. The edge is warping the area around it, while the inside is just a dark nightscape. Trent walks through the portal and emerges in a dark, large cave. The ground is surprisingly flat and shows a clear sign of construction. Toward the back of the room is a drop-off with pillars coming from the abyss below, reaching up into the ceiling, emitting a piercing teal glow. In between the 4 pillars floats a large glass sphere with a figure inside of it. As the figure changes shape, it appears as though it was a black liquid, deconstructing and reshaping into various forms. The edge of the platform is a short railing, and before that, 2 enormous purple crystals, however still dwarfed by the sphere and the pillars themselves. There's another humanoid figure in the room looking at the sphere, wearing a robe that changes from a deep black to every color imaginable within moments. Trent walks up to the figure, changing his own eyes from the normal shade of purple to the night sky. He reaches within 10 feet of the figure and suddenly stops, blinks, and the figure is suddenly facing him. It's almost as if it were a floating robe and a hood, and you can't see anything underneath. We'll be done on this planet soon. You should know someone it might be onto us. There is a greater being on the planet, but I can't prove that they were here for us. Trent stops. A fast wisp of air with a teal tinge flies from the hooded figure. Trent seems to react to it, looks quizzically at the figure, nods, and walks back toward the portal. Before he enters it, he switches his eyes back to normal. Trent emerges back in the castle. He hears heavy stomping coming from the stairs, checks his robes, makes sure they're clean, and pats himself down before continuing to the exit. A loud slam pushes the door on its hinges as it opens a bit wider and Marcon emerges from the hall, his hammer following shortly behind him. "I heard you were looking for me," Marcon exclaims rudely. "Well, I said Venus, but I guess it's the same thing," Trent replies sarcastically. "What do you want?" I was wondering if you needed help." Trent pauses, assisting any of the people moving through the portal. "No, we're fine. Venus has some now. She's bringing them. By the way, where does this portal go?" "To my world. I told you this," Trent hissed. Mark looks at Trent and storms forward, his hammer at the door still. Trent doesn't contest him or get in his way. Mark continues and travels through the portal, his hammer slamming down on the ground with an ear-shattering smash. He emerges from the portal into a grassy field with a large city in the distance. He turns around and quickly returns to his world. "Pretty cool, huh?" Trent exclaims confidently. "Sure, I guess," Mark responds, unsure of himself. Venus and Adamar enter the room with a group of 15 people behind him, mainly consisting of women and their children. Mark looks at the crowd, visibly worried, and looks back to Venus. Trent looks somber for a moment, but composes himself with an adjustment of his posture and walks up to Venus. "Hey, you two. I see you brought some people in." "Hello, everyone. You can just walk right in," Trent exclaims to the crowd. "I couldn't have done it without Adamar. He helped explain what was going on. I do hope everyone enjoys their new lives on your world," Venus replies cheerfully. "Oh, it's no problem, dear," Adamar replies respectfully. Mark darts his attention to Adamar, trying to mask any feelings of anger. Trent bows and motions for the crowd to walk through the portal.